And we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Think Young's third live conversation for Coding for the Environment speaker series. Today's webinar, What's Next? Unmanned Aircraft Systems and the Future of Mobility, is done in partnership with Boeing and in line with the EU Code Week activities. So today, a vast number of organizations and industries are adopting this new technology, including military, government, commercial, and recreational users. And we see examples including aerial photography, product deliveries, agriculture, infrastructure inspections, science, and even drone racing. So I think that already, drones and the UAS are playing an important role in our everyday lives. And then the question for the future would be on how to best, integrate the use of UAS into our daily lives. So, for example, within the industry, UAS and drones will provide important contributions on the evolution of cities to smart and green cities. And last but not least, new businesses and jobs in the mobility sector have already started, to emerge and will continue to rise. Overall, the EU revolution, revolution is already ongoing. And then with today's, session, we aim to discuss how these new technologies are transforming the world of academia, startups, mobility, and regulation. Thus, we want to highlight, the key innovations, the future of the industry, and to address potential, concerns that arise when looking at this space today. So I would like, before to start, I would like to welcome all our speakers for taking the time to be here today. I'm very excited for this panel. And I would like to welcome each and every one of you, Christelle Al-Haddad, who is, a research associate at the Technical University in Munich, Maria Tarabanovska, who is a co-founder of FlightCrowd, Brian Lee, who is a business development associate at Maternet, and last but not least, certainly not least, Ludovic Ledreau, expert in the drones unit at Eurocontrol. So, moving on, I would like to start, with the fact that many of us are familiar about, when hearing about drones, and it could be, the delivery, or it could be, the recreational activities, but we are not fully aware of, the meaning of unmanned vehicles as a whole and the diverse uses of them. So I think that before we start speaking about, what the future holds, it's very good if, Maria, you could give us a general introduction of what unmanned aircraft systems are and how do they impact our world today.
Yes, of course. Thank you very much, Marlena. It's a pleasure to be here. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone. No, I think you've pretty much covered it really well in terms of, the use cases for the unmanned aircraft systems, the UAVs, UAS drones. There's so many names around, and I think quite often we're sort of trying to, and we're talking about the very same things. But indeed, if you sort of look at the drones and the usage of drones, they've been around for quite some time, and started with pretty much the military using them, the Predator UAV, everyone's familiar with that one. Now we're talking about smaller and more portable drones that are used by, say, for instance, in the defense industry. We're talking about UAVs being used in the emergency responses you've mentioned, so using the thermal imaging cameras, the humanitarian aid and disaster relief, healthcare, waste management, etc., 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 all the recreational photography. But what unites all of these different systems is, I guess, well, the technology on board, but also, despite the different configurations, and I'm sure we'll talk about different configurations, different designs of these aircraft. I think it's the fact that we, as a humanity, are sort of finding the new ways of, new advancements in technology and new ways within transportation, within aerospace. And so what I am particularly focusing on within FlightCrowd is urban air mobility and the future of aerial transportation, the future of aerial mobility, and specifically focusing on cargo and people transportation. Cargo transportation, again, and this is perhaps goes back to, whether you define drones as sort of a subset of UIM or whether you think it's a separate industry. But all of the things that I've mentioned before, cargo could be anything. Cargo could be, your medical deliveries. It could be your industrial inspection, again, carrying various different cameras and sensors on board. Could be all sorts of cargo transportation, but I'm specifically interested in people transportation. And answering your question about sort of the future of unmanned aircraft systems, I definitely am interested in seeing how we will be transporting people in the future using these people-carrying drones or eVTOLs specifically. At the moment, we are mainly talking, in most parts of the world, we're talking about manned or piloted operations, but indeed we're already seeing some fantastic industry progress within the unmanned space and autonomous vehicles being used. So I'm sure we will get there at some point, and very much will be transporting people all over the world to fantastic destinations for various tourism aspects, but also very much connecting communities. But at the moment, I think we're not just there on the grand scale of things. So very much from what I understand the industry and from what I see the industry is doing at the moment is sort of that cargo transportation and very much loads of, disease control, weather forecasting and insurance inspections and telecommunications and all the aforementioned use cases. But the future, really, really excited for passengers getting on board and for us to utilizing this technology to, again, connect different parts of the world, different communities, and bring this to sort of even more to the masses. Hope that's okay.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Maria. No, it was indeed a nice introduction to the, to the topic and to the various uses, and also a bit about the future, which we will also speak more about it later. And yeah, that's great. Thank you so much. So now that we have covered, a bit, the uses of the UAS and the drone technology today, I would like to explore a bit, how this technology is evolving to help us to build a better future, for the different generations nowadays. So many new technologies are taking into account, the environment and how we could build our, day-to-day to have, for example, less carbon emissions, no? So I would like to address a question to Brian. So Brian, based on your experience, how far are we from a reality where, UAS will be delivering packages or completing jobs autonomously? And how do you think, Matternet is working towards this goal?
Thank you. Before I start, I just want to say it's really great to be with everybody. Yeah, so maybe before I speak about what Matternet is doing and what other drone delivery players are doing in this space, it'd be good to sort of understand a bit about the social problems and what are the ways that, the technology can help alleviate that, right? So, today I'm seeing a world in which last mile delivery is growing exponentially quickly. I think the World Economic Forum says that by 2030, the number of last mile deliveries globally is going to double. This is a bit problematic because, a lot of the social issues that we deal with, like air pollution, congested streets, right, road accidents and fatalities, they're largely caused by delivery vehicles today. Delivery vehicles are maybe 5% of the global fleets, but they contribute to more than 60% of the fine particulate emission. And it's because there's so much stop and go, because there's so much idling, and also because of just how big these vehicles are, they cause a disproportionate share of accidents in really tight city urban cores. And I'm imagining a world in which, the volume of deliveries go up exponentially, and these problems are just going to get worse and worse. And then there's going to be the climate toll as well as the productivity loss from congestion that's going to go with all of that. And we have to find a way in which we can, utilize all the space above us, create an aerial transportation layer, a green aerial transportation layer that can really alleviate some of these problems and help us, embrace the volume of last mile deliveries without causing more issues on the surface, right? In terms of, how far are we from a reality where UAS will be delivering packages and completing jobs autonomously? I would say, we're there today. Matternet is, delivering blood samples every single day over the city of Zurich. We fly on a beyond visual line of sight routes and over a really densely populated city, and the drone flies 100% autonomously. But this is a rare case of Switzerland being an incredibly innovative jurisdiction, and also a very specific use case. So I think the question is more about, hey, when will this technology really be available at scale? And I think there's two things that's going to help us get there. One is full automation, right? So today the drone flies autonomously. There isn't a little kid with an RF controller flying it like a DJI drone. But there's still somebody who's manually swapping out the battery and the payload. And for most drone delivery folks, right, it's that way through which they operate. And also, today we're doing small routes for individual customers and big hospitals like the University of Zurich. But we think about a world in which we're creating citywide delivery networks, and we're thinking about the technology not so much as just a one route thing, but more of a public infrastructure, just like the way we think about the internet or cell phone networks. And we have all sorts of different players, right? Whether it's folks from private enterprise to governments, right? And form these really broad consortiums in which everybody's using these networks. We can really get the unit economics down. And I think that's something that we're trying to do in Abu Dhabi today, where we just announced a 40 location citywide medical drone delivery network with the Department of Health of that country, as well as the General Aviation Authority. I think it's by embracing full automation and scale that you really get to a future in which this technology is competitive with last mile delivery today happening on roads.
Great. Thank you so much, Brian. Already very, very interesting comments. And I'm sure that, our audience will have many questions. So don't forget to put your questions in the chat. And at the last 10, 15 minutes, we will make sure to answer as many as we can. So thank you to Brian and to everyone already. So I want to move to Ludo. And, we discussed about, the progression and, all the innovation behind this technology. So when we speak about energy efficiency and less pollution, how do you at Eurocontrol view the future of transport and energy efficiency within the UAS space?
Hello. Yes, maybe before I answer to your question, I just want to react to what the previous speaker said. I think when we speak about drones, this is like for the smartphones, there is a before and after, and with the drones, it's like we discovered that we can use the airspace in a different way that we are used to do so far, and we have different use cases and possibilities in front of us, and this is what we aim to develop now. So, and now to come back to your question and this future of transport and this energy efficiency, it's clear that when we speak about transport, and especially air transport, we have to consider various parameters. I can mention some of the most significant. First, we have the vehicles themselves, and in the unmanned world, electric engines is the natural choice. Clearly, from the small drones that we spoke about so far, up to the future air taxi, when we speak about UAM, manufacturers develop electric vehicles. This choice is made for various reasons, such as the cost savings, the noise reductions, or flight efficiency. Another aspect that is important to consider, this is the network as such, the airspace. These two are very important. How the airspace is organized and structured, how we efficiently use its capacity. These are questions to solve. And for US management, Europe is developing its own unmanned traffic management solution that we name USpace. And this solution includes definition of airspace organization structure, demand and capacity management, and from its initial definition in 2017, we have the ambitions, we have the objective, and we set performance requirements to minimize the environmental impacts. Here I speak about, again, noise reductions, energy savings that are really key in the development of USpace. So that's the first three aspects to consider. This one are quite common to the what I mean the traditional aviation. Now, thanks to the drones and this change of mindset, we can as well consider this notion of intermodality, which is I would not say new, but quite new in the traditional aviation. So here we speak about how to use the most appropriate and suitable solutions for a journey, including air and ground solutions. So it's about linking the train to the aircraft. It's about linking the car to the future air taxi and so forth and so on. So this is another key enabler for us to develop the future of transport with this perspective of sustainability. Finally, and that's something that appeared in the introduction by Maria, if I remember her name correctly. We may as well consider the impact of using UAS rather than ground or air solutions. The example of the last mile delivery is a well-known scenario by the public. So clearly, the cost of a US flight is lower than the cost of a car or a truck, especially if it is stuck in a traffic jam. Another example is about the program inspection. Here, these inspections are usually done by rotorcraft when it's quite easy for the audience to feel the energy saving, the time saving, and the noise reduction if such operations are performed by the US. So, all in all, Eurocontrol we see the US as being part of the future of transport, as we see UAS as an enabler to move from the present time to the future. The work we do today to develop UAS solutions will clearly benefit to the whole European aviations in all areas, including sustainability.
Thank you very much, Ludo. Very, very interesting points to keep in mind also for both sides. Yeah. Now I want to also move on to Christelle, because I want to ask about the introduction of these new and innovative transport systems, and we know that they will affect, as we just said, and revolutionize our current habits also as humans. So in terms of public acceptance and human factors, what is your opinion about the urban air mobility?
Yeah, so thank you, Marilena, for the invitation. First of all, thank you for all the speakers. Yeah, so I will just start by saying, basically like what Maria said, that there are so many different terms, so many different terminologies. Sometimes we mean the same thing, sometimes we don't really. In the research that I'm doing at the Technical University of Munich, and like I'm personally doing, we are mostly talking about urban air mobility, at least what we are researching. And that's because we're focusing mostly on the passenger transportation. So we are aware of the other use cases, but we mostly are interested in passenger transportation. And from a transportation engineer point of view, so basically we see this UAM as, okay, we know this is going to be part of the future, probably. And then we need to, before this becomes a reality, we need to see how does this integrate with the rest? What are people's opinion about it? What is the new added value? All of these things. And what you said about the habits is totally true. And I can speak about a very first research I've done on the topic, which has actually been published in Transportation Research Part A. So it was about the acceptance of UAM. And when I was working on that, obviously, it was like, it's a hot topic. So then you want to research, and then there is nothing there because no one did that, like the technology comes first, and then we think, okay, what do we do with this? So basically, what we try to do in that work, and what is still being done, is to see, okay, assuming this thing exists now or tomorrow, what would people use it? Would people not use it? What do they care about? What do they not care about? And precisely because it does not exist, so we have to do a survey, right? So just ask people, and that's the sort of work that we do, that we want to see, we cannot really know, let's say, what the habits will change, what they will do, but we will try to ask them, try to give them a scenario that, okay, this is what it looks like, give them pictures, this is, you go from point A to point B, not technical, just really basic, and then try to understand who these people are, and then try to relate, okay, what are the people's concern are. And well, basically, main findings from this research, which is not very shocking, but it's that trust is it was really the most important thing for the acceptance, and that's impacted by so many things. And that's also very interesting because this is a new technologies, but then it's always the case that a new technology, there's the same sort of process that you have some people who will adopt it early, some people who adopt it later on, etc., etc. And yeah, so that's one thing that we have to like the point is, like, as transportation researchers, we think, okay, UAM is there, so how do we want to add it to the existing modes, and how does this integrate? So not that, okay, this is something far away, no, like, how does this impact also what, like Ludo said, like, okay, ground and air, it's not like the other stuff will stop existing, so how do everything integrate together? Will this be for which use case? Use case, I don't mean like emergency, or I mean which trip purpose, I'm sorry. So basically, am I going to go to a business meeting with this? Is it going to be, I don't know, like there are so many questions to ask. And I think it's like sort of like, yeah, as you said, it will change habits. And that's that's what we try to understand. How will it change those habits, and what do people care about? How much are they willing to spend? If I give you two choices, you reach faster, but you pay a bit more. What is the, how much are you willing to pay for your time, or how much do you care about the environment? So all of these questions we try to sort of answer. So very exciting times. I don't know if I answered precisely to your question, but that's at least my view about the topic. It's a new thing. It's a new mode of transport. From our point of view, it's a new mode of transport. It has to move people. How do we make sure like people are on board? Like, what do they care about? So listening really to these sort of questions, basically. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Noah. Thank you. You answered a lot, and you also gave us further feedback. So we wait for your next research to see also the responses of the people. And I know that Maria wants to add something here. So Maria, please go ahead.
Thank you so much. Yeah, just wanted to jump on very quickly. Christelle, can't agree more with you. And this is precisely what FlightCrowd is focusing on, very much that public engagement side of things, public acceptance. And myself being an aerospace engineer, I know how easy it is to get carried away with the technology and the excitement and all the innovation, and how influencing and how beneficial this could be. But it's so important to make that link with the communities, because indeed what we are talking about in case of urban air mobility is that technology pushed to market rather than the market pull. So the people didn't come to us basically saying, oh, we need the solution because we're bored of, say, staying in traffic, or, you know, we need a new sustainable mode of aerial transportation. People don't, well, they are aware of these issues, but they didn't come to us and ask for these solutions that we're designing to basically be designed. Something we're doing a lot of is outreach through our various programs at FlightCrowd, and we do a lot of discussions and workshops with young people as well. And what's interesting is you find that both the young people and the old people have quite similar worries. And so, you know, we keep thinking, oh, it's the old people who will be reserved and who will be sort of concerned about the future of aerospace and who will be against some potential developments. But really, when you talk to young people, they are as afraid, because I think largely because of what we're seeing in the media. And that sort of goes back to the whole marketing question, and how do we actually portray the actual users of these innovative aerial vehicles? How do people first learn about drones, about eVTOLs, about UAM, and what are we actually going to be using it for primarily? Because at the moment it's fantastic, it's great, you know, we can have it in recreational terms, and military is using it more and more, but we really need to get it out there as a sort of, and have that friendly, nice image of a drone, of the future of aerial mobility, future of unmanned aerial vehicles, and to say, look, this is there for you. And we're making it for the people. It's not just for us because we're engineers and we came together and we want to make something cool, but we are there to solve your problems. But it's interesting to see that really everyone has the same worries, regardless of their sort of background, their age, their demographic. People are, you know, have the same concerns because of the messages that we are receiving on a day-to-day basis, not necessarily reflective of what is actually going on in the industry. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to give also one short, spot to Ludo, because he wants to add another comment on this, and then we go to the next question.
Yeah, just to confirm what they both said. I mean, public acceptance is really a key point that we consider. And what I wanted to highlight is just that when we look the European Research and Development Program around drones and new space, we are always looking for the scenarios that will bring something to the public first, like Brian spoke about the delivery of blood and so forth and so on. So we target such a scenarios that will bring something to the public first, to ensure that the public acceptance is really a point that we manage. I just wanted to highlight this aspect to show how far it is important at European level as well.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you. Now I want to move a bit on another topic, because in the last 2 years, everyone's lives was affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, and different sectors were also affected in different ways. So I want to ask you, Maria, like, in your opinion, how do you think the COVID-19 pandemic affected the air mobility sector? And for example, do you think it slowed down the research and the progress, or do you think that on the contrary, the new needs that were, needed at this period sped up, the process by creating, for example, new jobs or new opportunities?
No, thank you for the question. I think this is a very interesting topic, because although we know that traditional aerospace have really, really suffered, and the whole world sort of, woke up one day thinking, oh goodness, what are we going to do now that almost everything has just stopped and came to a halt. I think it's very interesting to see how people's demands have changed, and interests and needs, and things that we are passionate about and things that we're concerned with have changed as well. So if you look at the studies pre-pandemic, studies, for instance, conducted by Airbus, looking into the public needs and their sort of thinking behind advanced air mobility, urban air mobility, people's responses, that data compared to, say, what EASA has recently published, you will see some differences. And again, the more you sort of engage with the public, the more you'll see that people are much more aware of, for instance, the space, and how how crowded of a space that you're traveling in, transportation. I need my space, I need my personal vehicle. Potentially, this wasn't necessarily something that we were talking about previously. It was all about, let's put as many people on shared transportation as possible and get everyone somewhere faster using, say, buses and trains. Now many people are concerned with, I want to travel with those who I know personally. Also, sustainability. Sustainability has been always an issue, but I think it's been elevated. This topic has been elevated by quite a bit in the recent months and years, and that's because the time is ticking, really. And so urban air mobility, again, the messaging around aerial mobility is that this is a new mode of transportation, the green solution that we've been waiting for. No, it won't replace the existing transportation, somebody was saying before, but this is something that will help with our overall ambition to decrease the amount of pollutants that we're releasing on a daily basis. And again, this is something that we became much more concerned with. And in terms of jobs, I think it's and I have loads of friends and colleagues who've lost their jobs, but many people have found their passion and started doing really, really interesting things. And also, I think we started understanding how important digital is, and digital evolution again has been, we've seen very much the shift to even further dependency on everything digital. We're here talking over Zoom, and this has been enabled because of developments in the internet space and connectivity. This is what it will be driving the urban air mobility. And so the fact that more of us are getting into this, more familiar with this space, more comfortable with this space, means that, again, hopefully that shift towards new modes of transportation will be made much easier. And indeed, again, we're seeing that people are inventing different jobs. We're thinking about the few the new careers that will be out there in the market once urban air mobility sort of is unveiled on a large scale. I think overall there has been loads of devastating effects, but really it allowed all of us individually, but also organizations, to look back at who we are, rethink, reevaluate, and sort of hopefully come back stronger with the right priorities, focusing on, delivering the global benefit, delivering the benefit that is, again, not harming the planet. So hopefully the future is green, and we're definitely investing in all these green solutions for mass benefit. And again, hopefully it's all not just words, but meaningful actions, and hopefully we're also making it accessible and inclusive. This is something else that I'm very worried. Let's not just pour the money into technology. Let's make this technology accessible and inclusive so that as many people can use it as possible. So hopefully that sort of provides some input.
Great. Thank you so much. No, indeed. No, I want to say a bit on the same topic and refer a question, to Ludovic. We mentioned, about COVID, and especially as Maria said, there was, big impact on with the closure of national and international, borders, and brought, many air routes to a standstill for a while. So, according to Eurocontrol, what was the impact of the pandemic on the European aviation? If you can give us some information, and then maybe specific for the UAS sector, if anything.
Yeah. So I think with no surprise, the COVID had a huge impact on the aviation sector, with an enormous decrease of the traffic for a long period of time, and with the economic consequences we know. As of today, if you go to the Eurocontrol website, you will see that on a regular basis we publish an assessment of the situation, and the last one has been published by the 19th of October, so very recently, and you will see that the European traffic is still around 30% below, in average, the traffic we are used to have before the COVID crisis. So clearly, we're still below. In 2019, the capacity was the critical issue to solve in Europe. When today, let's be clear, it has been pushed back to our to-do list. And when we look at the figures, again in this impact assessment made by Eurocontrol, even if we look the basic scenario, let's say the one in the middle, we see that the traffic will be back to the 2019 figures only in 2024, so which is not for tomorrow morning. So regarding the UAS sector as such, the impact is, I would say, less important, or it's more difficult to assess, in the sense that we do not have figures dedicated to this sector. Now, I can easily mention some aspects. So because as such, this sector, especially in Europe, today, we do not have large-scale and dense operations across Europe. So we have local operations that are performed, and these operations have not been really impacted by the COVID as such. In addition, it's quite easy as well to see that UAS could be and have been sometimes solutions in a situation where social distances have to be maintained or lockdown are required. So I can say that in some cases this was even an opportunity to boost the development of some UAS solutions, as an example, the deliveries using UAS. So what I would like to highlight here is that beyond this situation, the COVID could be seen as an opportunity for the development of the overall UAS management across Europe. Clearly, if it's easy to say that today, but if we look at the European aviation system, if this system would have been based on automation, scalability, which are two pillars that we target for U-Space and this UAS traffic management system in the future, we may say that the impact of the COVID would have been easier to manage, easier to absorb, thanks to this level of automation and scalability. So for me, the COVID confirms the need for such a system in the future for both unmanned and manned aviation. And to react to what Maria said just before, I would highlight the fact that if you look the work plan for the future research and innovation in Europe, in the aviation in Europe, that will start next year up to 2030, there are the 9 flagships, and 2 of them, and I would say the main 2, as far as I'm concerned, are the green aviation and the development of U-Space and UAM systems. So that's clearly to show that the COVID had an impact on the overall aviation. Clearly, today we are still beyond what we were before. But as Maria said, at the same time, this is an opportunity to think about, okay, where are we, what do we do, and how do we want to see the world in the future? And this is applicable to the aviation world as well.
Thank you so much, Ludo. Very interesting. So now I would like to move a bit, more to the future. So I would like to ask, as being experts, what you see in the future for this field, no? And then I will start with a question to Brian. Brian, by starting, I know looking at the future for unmanned aircraft systems, that what do you expect, at a personal level and also in terms of Matternet, for example? Do you think that people will also be soon transported? I mean, we already discussed a bit about it, but what is your opinion on this? Is it more packages also, or the humans, like the taxi, as we said? And what impact do you see this having for Matternet? What the future will bring for Matternet?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I think in many ways, the problems that we're solving with drone delivery today are the larger issues that UAV transportation of people will have to solve, just on a bigger scale. I think robust sort of services, flying taxi services. I think most people in the industry think that maybe that's not really going to happen this decade. That's sort of something in the middle of the next decade, and I'd be curious to get other people's opinion on that as well. But I do think that within this decade, we will get to a point where you're going to see more delivery drones dot the landscape. And I think the value proposition is that these drones are not just fast, they're fast and fast every single time. And I think folks have sort of alluded to the benefits in healthcare stuff with, let's say, urgent goods delivery, right? I think it's, the World Health Organization says like 50% of vaccines globally are wasted because of cold chain failure. And if you could have a very rapid aerial logistics solution for that, right? That could be something that really helps with that. We also think that healthcare will be transformed in many ways because, now with this, rapid aerial link, what we like to call a pneumatic tube for the outside, you can start to centralize, distributed facilities and medical inventory and reduce waste, right? So there's a lot of very tangible benefits there. And also, society is shifting more and more to telehealth. So I think the solution is going to be a really vital aspect of that, right? And COVID has shown us that, hey, a contactless, solution to bring things from place to place is very much in demand, right? Especially considering some of the social shifts that are happening because of the pandemic. So as much as I'm very optimistic about, the space, I'm also realistic about the fact that unit economics in the short term are simply not going to beat the road, right? I mean, like today, Uber Eats is doing a delivery, I think, for like, it costs them like $8 to $10 to do a delivery, out of which, maybe 60% of that is like direct cost and 40% variable. And in order to scale this technology, in order to get to $10 a delivery, which I think you need scale and automation for, it's going to be a few years before we get there. So I think the primary use cases that make sense in the near immediate term will continue to be in healthcare, where the value of the items that you transport are of such sufficient value. And the minutes that you save and what you can do for a patient life actually matters so much that people are saying, okay, it may be $50 a delivery, maybe $75 a delivery, but this is worth it and we'll do it, right? When you talk about a world in which like Amazon does like 90% of those deliveries by drone, that's, I think, going to be a far off future. I'm not sure if we'll ever get there, but that's how I see sort of the future playing out. It's going to be high urgency, high value use cases, scaling to more popular use cases, and then eventually I think we'll get to the people. And look, I think this is similar to every other sort of infrastructure technology that's existed since like antiquity, right? Like when we had cell phone networks, first of all, it started off being, or the internet, it started off being B2B applications, right? Like big universities had these like giant computers in giant rooms and they were connecting to each other, and it was primarily like a very enterprise use case. And then folks were like, okay, how can we distribute information to consumers? And then the internet became, B2C. And then eventually, with like social media and like folks realizing like, oh, we can actually just like, talk to each other, it became like a C2C application. And I think it's the same way when you think about like cell phones and all this stuff, right? So that's our hypothesis on how the future will be.
Great, thank you so much, Brian. I like this hypothesis. Yeah, it's very important to see the health, for example. So yeah, I like it. So I know that I mean we are a bit out of time, but does anyone else would like to give an opinion on how they see the future of drones at this point in the UAS before I go to my next question? I think Maria.
Yeah, as you noticed, I always have something to say. No, I think this is really, really a subject that I'm very passionate about, and I keep talking about it all the time. And it's very interesting to hear perspectives from my colleagues. So no, that's wonderful, Brian. Definitely agree with you on most things. And further to what you've mentioned, I think it's important to understand that, in an ideal world, this is the future for everyone, and there will be a place for everyone in this future. But the question is, how long would it take? And how long would it take in terms of years? How much money would it take? And how much effort? I think the effort and time, it will all come. We'll keep persevering. But we just really need to, what I'm really worried about is basically some communities benefited from it sooner than others, and those who are sort of lagging behind, almost giving up on it, because it could be, it could be delivered in not the best way almost. I'm talking specifically about urban air mobility, and indeed the fact that it will take some time for us to make this technology truly affordable and indeed truly inclusive. And I just really hope that indeed, people will wait, and people will be patient, and people will truly see those benefits that we are talking about. The technology will deliver for sure. But I'm just really hoping that all that work that my colleagues and myself and we at Flight Crowd, we are all doing, the public will hear us and will wait and will be patient and will truly understand that this is something for them. The big question, what's in it for me? If this is an Amazon delivery and it's not delivering my package, then why should it fly above my house? But if it's somebody going on a sightseeing trip and it's not me because I can't afford it, why should they fly above my house? Why should they land in my backyard almost? But I just hope that we'll have sufficient amount of those services that are delivering public good almost from day one with this technology is implemented. Again, very much the medical delivery, aerial firefighting, policing, and so on and so forth, and truly connecting communities, connecting people, and delivering that fast response that would otherwise, cost people lives. So I just hope that we'll keep persevering. People will be patient with us, but I think it has loads and loads of interesting promises, and yeah, it's very promising. But bear with us, everyone.
Great, thank you, Maria. And Ludo, anything to add on this?
Yeah, just to add, to say first that I agree with the two of them. And when you look at the research and innovation work plan today, when we speak about air taxi, for sure there will be early implementers in the coming years, but clearly this is for the far future, after 2030, 2035. So, and exactly as Brian said,
I think we lost Ludo. I cannot hear you anymore. I don't know if you can hear us. But until we have Ludo back, I think Christelle, if you can give us also an opinion, on the future. How do you think that the future innovations in transport will be, and if this will be potentially integrated into the existing public transport systems or not? How is your opinion on this?
Yes, so I'll try to be fast. So yeah, I just wanted to really agree with what Brian said before as well, and about like how this is like any other technology in the sense, not like in the bad sense, but in the sense that, yeah, you need to, like, people really need to see the urgency, and that kind of goes back to the point that I said about the technology acceptance, like the very oh, so Ludo is back, I think, but I will finish my sentence if I can. So I was saying that it is like any other technology in the sense that people really need to see it, that it's useful, and that it's like sort of easy to use. And the useful is like this urgency, or this whatever, like it gets me to a place where there's no other alternative. Maybe in some rural areas, it can be serving some underserved areas. And it's easy of use. Well, in the case of not drones, in the case of passenger transportation, how is the experience? Is it smooth? Do I just book it with an app? Do I have to really be like an engineer to go there, or I can just be a person and go there? So all of these sort of things add to the experience. And one last comment from my side is regarding whether that integrates into public transport. I think like it's not like whether it will, it's more like it should, at least like in designing the location of these vertiports, we sort of should remember that there are other modes of transport, because like if the goal is okay, we're going to compete with the other modes, it's not really going to work. It's more like, where is there a gap with the other modes and we can sort of integrate, or where does it help, like where does it serve in underserved areas? And therefore you now move from the term of sort of urban air mobility to advanced air mobility, or you have regional air mobility, and that's sort of to not stay just very limited, like we're not going to go from my street to the next street, hopefully for passengers. But so that's about the passengers transportation. And like also like Maria, I'm very excited to see what's next. But I will meanwhile let Ludo finish his interrupted sentence about drones and things that are more technical than I know. So yeah, please, Ludo.
Yes, thank you. I said it will happen, it happens. So just maybe to conclude on what I was going to say, I mean, I fully agree with what Maria and Brian were explaining, and Christian, you used the word useful, and I think for the common operation, what will be important is to have this useful, and at the same time to have something which is safe and controlled. And that's why we will, in the R&D program, we target, and the scenarios that we are using today are more related to this healthcare, to the surveillance and survey operations, to the first responders operations. All these scenarios have a cost-benefit analysis which is positive, and they are performed by professionals and so forth and so on, and we can certify them, and that's really for the short term the operations that are targeted, even if yes, clearly the air taxis are part of the game as well, but for a future which will come later.
Thank you so much, Ludo. And given that, Maria, you already gave your opinion on the future, I think if you are all okay, we can proceed with some questions, because we already received some. And then as we go by, if we have more time, we can respond to more things. So can I please ask for the first question? Great. So from Jorge Ramos from YouTube, do you think it's possible to use drones also in scientific research, for example, to document places where humans cannot reach, the seabed? Who wants to respond to this?
Oh, well, since my colleagues are silent, I'll take this one. I say from my personal experience, it is possible. It is possible already. I believe so. Again, I think we're talking about potentially what level of complexity, how in depth you want to conduct the research, but there are drones, and the term is a drone, even if you are talking about the seabed and under the ocean. There are already drones that are being used to very much map out the seabed and sort of conduct various research and scientific research activities. And I think it's similar to what we would be using sort of on the ground or in the air, or indeed in space. There are loads of drones that are already sort of doing and looking into this area. I'm sure there will be loads more further developments, but it is being done today, unless my colleagues will tell me that I'm wrong. No, good. We're on the same page. Great. Thank you, Jorge.
Great. Thank you, Jorge. Next question, please. Michelle from YouTube again. Do you expect the drone to become a commonplace for everyone soon, or will it remain a tool only used by people working in the field or with a license for it? I mean, you touched a bit upon it, but does anyone want to give a concluding remark on this? Maybe go ahead.
Yeah, so that would be a personal view. Others can react, but for me, I see since the start of working in this area, I mean at European level, when we define what will be the drones in the future, near future and far future, I see the drones as the cars. This is exactly the same types of vehicles. And today, yes, clearly this is for very specific cases, but in the far future, that will be for everyone. I mean, this is how we work today. It's to develop a system that will allow everyone to use drones in a safe way. That's a first requirement. But clearly, yes, that's part of the vision, that everyone will benefit and use drones, even if in the first milestones, that will be, as I said, professionals, because we need to ensure the safety, the security of these vehicles and for everyone.
Great, thank you so much, Ludo. Anyone else? No, okay, next question already. So from Irene, if I imagine a future with drones, I also think that problems will arise regarding privacy or invasion of private property if they fly close to our homes. How do you think this issue will be assessed? Yeah, I think Ludo, if you want to go ahead with this one also.
Yeah, sorry, I mean, except if somebody else wants to read, but I want to say again that from the start, at European level, when we speak about rules and regulation and we speak about the development of such systems, privacy is one of the key point that we discuss. We have to ensure the privacy, as we have to discuss, as we have to ensure the noise reduction, as an example. So this is really a topic that matters for us. And yes, that's a risk that we see from the start, as you can have similar risk with anybody who has a smartphone. I mean, they can take pictures, they can take movies on the streets. So we use at the same time the current regulation for privacy, that we assess how far this is sufficient or not for the usage of drone. And clearly, this is one of the main requirements on the development of drones in Europe, to ensure the privacy for the citizen.
Great, thank you so much. Anyone else that would like to say anything on this?
I can say just a quick comment. I mean, not on the technical things about the drones, and I'm like happy to hear from Ludo that it's a thing that is so important, because yeah, from the surveys that we've done, like as I said about trust, and like privacy was really one of also many the main concerns, like trust and safety. Privacy was really one main thing that was expressed by people. So it's a very sort of on-point question, and yeah, on-point answer. So happy to hear that.
Thank you so much, Christelle. Next one, Ilaria. So, Brian, what do you think needs to happen for your expectations for the future to be realized? Nice.
So much pressure.
It's like asking me to predict the future. I'll just go home and get my crystal ball and come back to you with an answer in 30 seconds. Yeah, so I think, there's a lot of things that need to happen, right? I think industry needs to do a lot with the technology in order to make it more scalable. I think we have a responsibility to lower the unit economics so more and more use cases can be welcomed. And I think, there's a huge regulatory component as well. So, a lot of times today, limitations in the field are not really, made by industry, but rather there's a regulatory bar there that, companies really need to meet and, prove to the regulators that what they say their technology can actually do. And a lot of the concerns with like privacy and noise, we need to go ahead and satisfy that. And also, do work around reliability and safety and really get people comfortable around the technology, right? And I think that's the final point I will make, which is getting people comfortable. A lot of folks are still, really wary about the sky is darkening with little drones above there, and they don't know what they're going to do with, So we have a lot of work to do to get folks comfortable around that and to make those arguments and really show them that, hey, the social benefits here really outweigh, any of the risks, and that we're doing our best to mitigate it from, a technology and regulatory point of view.
Great, thank you so much, Brian. Since we have some time, Maria, I want to go back to you and ask the question that I didn't ask earlier because we were super fast with our responses. So, because we are Think Young and we always, want to conclude something strong and inspiring, for young people. And since you are working, with a community of people from different ages, what do you think about the future and young people in this sector? Like, what do you think is the best way to involve the young generation in brainstorming, new ideas, for a continuous evolution in the field through the youth perspective as well?
No, definitely no pressure. I'll try and be as inspirational as I could be. It's interesting what Brian's mentioning about, the need to do more, to very much get the public on the same page. And again, I'm very happy and honoured that we're helping, I guess, to make this happen. Flightcrowd is focusing on public engagement. I say, we started with a public acceptance, but public acceptance is one of the goals that we're aiming to reach as an industry, but really it's about engaging with the public first and foremost. And in our understanding, you need to take people on a journey. You need to help them understand the industry, because we engineers, aerospace individuals, we've invented loads of technical terminology that we absolutely love using. We exchange all these acronyms and we speak our own little language no one else understands. We need to make sure that those barriers, those technical barriers, those barriers of technical lingo are demolished, and we're very much building the bridge between the industry and the public, connecting them, using the same language that people understand. We need to sort of, going back to the whole idea of building the bridge, it's about engaging with the public. And indeed, certainly it's something that I'm sure everyone will be able to do in their spare time, is do a bit of volunteering, do a bit of STEM outreach, do a bit of go into your community and giving back to to the rest of the world, speaking to young individuals who need your support. We need role models. They need role models. They need real people who are building this future, because we all need somebody to look up to. I think we all need inspirational speeches in our life. We all need great examples, positive examples, because otherwise, how do you know what's out there, right? How do you know what you like and what you don't like? So by going out there, all of you, all of us, can really sort of show what we are working on, how possible it is to engage in this industry as well. And indeed, I think it's all about the industry, again, very much opening the doors and saying, look, we want for the public to come on board and have those discussions. It's not about one-way conversation. It's the conversation, it's the dialogue that needs to happen. And again, very, very happy to be facilitating that dialogue and engaging with young communities through our initiatives at Flightcrowd. I think young individuals, going back to the careers in UAM, it's fascinating what this world will truly open, and what we're talking about, the scale of possibilities and different jobs that will be around for young individuals. We're engaging with creative communities. I'm also a product designer by education, and I'm so happy to go back to creative industries and say, guys with background in product design, in architecture, urban planning, media, film, all of your skills will be very much applicable. We need people with creative, fresh thinking, bright ideas. We need all of you to help us build this future. People who have passion and background in languages, in history, again, technical, loads of technical, this technology is all powered by, this industry is powered by technology, but indeed we need people who think about business, leadership, management. It's all about working together. It's systems thinking. So really, if you think about, again, how many, this industry operating on a truly global scale, and think about the amount of hospitality jobs that will be created, the digital backbone, the physical infrastructure, regulations, maintenance, manufacturing, really the amount of people who will be needed to very much help make this industry become successful and indeed sustain it for the years to come is tremendous, and it's important to start now. So if I was to ask for everyone here who's listening, who's sort of coming from our professional background, the adults in the room, to do something, is to share what you do, to share why you are doing what you're doing, what excites you in your day job. Go out and inspire future generations, because they need that. They need those stories. And just talk to them about the possibilities of this industry and answer their questions, and be open and honest if you don't know the answers to their questions. But trust me, from my personal experience, there's nothing more rewarding than just going out there and inspiring future generations. We've done that before. We've seen how people go, this is my future, I want to do it, I want to build it, I want to design it. And we have, students who are now interested in applying to work in urban air mobility because somebody once came to their school and told them that this is a future that is knocking on their door, and they were keen to open that door. Let's go out there and knock on as many doors as possible, because trust me, young people are waiting for those positive stories, for those great, fantastic potential opportunities that we are all working on. So I hope there will be many more of us who will build this future together. But thank you to all who's already here with us, who's working, who we are working with shoulder to shoulder. And I can't wait to see many more fantastic individuals joining our industry.
Well, that was very, very inspiring. It was a great, conclusion to the discussion that we had, because I think, it was a very insightful conversation. Well, it was an absolute pleasure having all four of you here today with us. And I think you all gave, a piece of your, experiences to discuss today this very, interesting and currently evolving topic, as we just said. So I want to thank you again. I see it's, 4:30, so I don't want to keep you too long. I know you have a busy schedule. So thank you all so much for being here. And thank you to everyone who was following us and who took the time, to ask some questions to learn more about this interesting topic. Have a good day, and we keep in touch for our next webinar. Bye, everyone.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.